Mike,
Okay.
while you're doing that, because it'll be good for our, so here's another one. Did you notice this share last 30 seconds that we can now do? So
Yes.
I'll actually tell, because I think everybody can do that. Over on the left-hand side, and I'll remind people later, you can actually share not just the title of this and not just through, you can actually share the last 30 seconds, kind of like a Vine video or whatever, over on the left, and it'll share to either Facebook or Twitter or whatever you choose to do it for.
Great. Okay, well, with that, we're going to get started today. Welcome, everybody, to our Alternative Health Blab. As you know, we do this weekly. My name is Mike Warren. I'm the president and co-founder of Alternative Health Concepts. And I think it's this way. I'm not sure if I'm pointing to him, but that's Wayne Doorman. Wayne is a partner of ours, and he works very closely with us in all things digital marketing. He's got an amazing background also, and we can get into that later. Just so you know, Alternative Health Concepts is our website, is mainly an education website. We have a strong emphasis on the immune system because our belief is that the only thing that can heal yourself of any chronic disease is your own immune system. Now, we can do things to help, and doctors do things to help, and there's many things that we all need to do, but to heal ourselves, our body has to do it. Treating a symptom won't cure anything. So with that said, we hold these blabs or little webinars weekly. You can go to our website that's directly under my name and see all of our past blabs, past webinars, and sign up for our newsletter that we send out weekly. We send out approximately 3 a week and sometimes more, just packed with great information, all things alternative health. Our goal is to help you become healthy. We have an absolutely amazing guest today. I'm so excited to have Lisa Wheeler, naturopathic doctor, all the way from Australia with us today.
Thank you. Hi everyone.
And
thanks for having me.
As you will find out very shortly, she's super energetic, and even more than that, she's super passionate about the things that we're going to talk about and what's led us there today. So welcome, Lisa. Thank you so much for being here and taking the time out of your busy schedule. It's kind of crazy. It's for those of you that are watching it in the States, it's Wednesday afternoon or evening. It's 4 o'clock Pacific Coast time. It's 10 o'clock on Thursday where Lisa's at. She's already ahead of us. She's in Tomorrowland, so she's back to the future as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, welcome, Lisa.
Right. Thank you for having me.
So what I'd like to do is, if you don't mind, Lisa, just bear with me for 1 second. Sure. And let me just tell a little bit about what I know about you. And it's not a lot, but it's important. Lisa is a naturopathic doctor, as we mentioned. And the reason, one of the things that's interesting here in the States, naturopaths go by doctor. In Australia, where Lisa's from, they don't. That's reserved for medical doctors only, MDs. So I felt uncomfortable not calling her Dr. Wheeler. So I'm going to call her Dr. Wheeler one time right now. For all of you, we have Dr. Wheeler with us, but she goes by Lisa, and it's a beautiful name, and we'll just stick with that for the rest of this class. But she is a naturopath. She's a health and healing mentor. She's also a raw food coach, which is something I don't know a lot about and I want to learn more about. We'll be talking to her about that. She is the founder and director of Embracing Health, which is a business that's dedicated to bringing you and anybody information that can change their lives. And so that's why we have a lot in common. Her passions are our passions. It's just from a little different angle. And as I've said a million times, there's a lot that goes into it. So I don't want to say too much more about that, Lisa. What I'd like you to do right now is I'm going to turn the time over to you and tell us a little bit about your story. Tell us, growing up, how you became so passionate about health and what led you to where we're at today.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the lovely introduction. I think I knew from a very young age that I was meant to work in the healing industry. It was one of those things that I knew from I would say 5 years old. Originally, I wanted to become a doctor until I found out a little more about what the medical profession did. So I think I've had a passion for health and healing from a very young age. I would say I started my study at about 15 years old. So now, giving away my age, that's over 30 years in the industry.
Baby.
Yeah, yes, that's true. And yeah, I went on to study naturopathy, which is a 4-year degree here in Australia. But alongside that, I've done hundreds of courses. My library is huge. I said in my house, I don't care about what the bathroom looks like. I don't care about anything else. Give me a really big library. So I've read thousands of books over the years and have made my life a real study of natural medicine. In my career, one of the things that was a real turning point, or one of the foundations of my life, was working as a naturopath at Hippocrates Health Centre in Australia, which was based on the Anne Wigmore program that was founded in Boston many years ago. So it's a raw vegan detoxification program. And there I was privileged to witness the healings of just about every disease known to man. So just about every chronic illness I came across in the 5 years that I worked there. And so for me, healing is not something I've read in a book. It's actually something that I've witnessed and experienced time and time again. So I know how powerful food as medicine is. So from there, I went on to set up my own retreat programs, which I take to different places in Australia and in Bali. And by the look of it, I may be coming to Hawaii and Sedona to see you guys.
Yeah. Just so you know, if you haven't had a chance, please go to her website and look at her retreats. They look absolutely amazing. It said that she may be having one in Hawaii, which is a little closer than Bali or specifically Australia for me to go to. Yeah. And then she mentioned that she's got a friend or friends in Sedona, Arizona, which is only about a 6-hour drive for me. And I told her she has to do that. So she said she would. I don't know when, but she promised.
Oh, look, I've got a great friend over there. She's actually the editor of my book. So I'd love to come over and do a retreat in Sedona. I've just come off a retreat at Byron Bay last week. So we did an 8-night retreat at one of the most beautiful spots in Australia. Yeah, so alongside the naturopathy, I run retreats, I write, I've got blogs, membership clubs, and really it's just about empowering people to have the knowledge to heal themselves, because the potential is absolutely there.
Great. And we believe the exact same thing. So today we kind of really wanted to talk about, because we're all in this crazy environment, we're all under tremendous amount of stress, just from day-to-day activities, but also with maybe disease that we might be facing or a loved one might be facing. So talk a little bit about what you do with stress and how adrenal fatigue works into there. But before you even do that, please explain for our guests and for people watching the replay of this, what is adrenal fatigue? What does that mean, and what are we actually talking about inside the body?
Yeah, absolutely. So, great question. And this is one of my passions, adrenal fatigue, because it is something I've experienced myself. And it's something that I'm seeing as more and more common in today's society, with the fast-paced life we live, with all the stresses we're under, with the toxins, with finances, with work-life, balancing home and family, not to mention chronic illness, and emotional trauma. There are so many pressures on us that I don't think we were actually built to cope with. So for me, adrenal fatigue is becoming a bigger issue. So it really is something that I recognise in people. However, the medical profession doesn't recognise it as yet. So adrenal fatigue, well, there's 3 stages of stress. So there's the first stage, which is fight or flight, which is the adrenaline and the life-saving survival instinct. The second stage is what's called the resistance phase, which is long-term stress, and that's where our hormone cortisol rises. And then the third stage is adrenal fatigue or adrenal exhaustion, where our adrenals pretty much give up and cortisol drops to potentially critical levels. And that's becoming more common. We're all very familiar with the stressed out executive that has high cortisol levels. That in itself is an issue, but many people can live in that phase of resistance for decades, We're not meant to, but people do. And it does lead to chronic illness. So we see heart disease, we see cancers, we see type 2 diabetes, ulcerative colitis, menstrual irregularities. All of those things come from being in that resistance phase of stress. But in some people, sorry, yep.
Real quickly, so what is there a particular gland when you say adrenals? What are we actually talking? What is that? Is that a gland that's in our body, or? Yep,
absolutely. It's part of our endocrine system. So it's a little gland that sits on top of the kidneys. So they're actually called the suprarenals, which is above kidney, or above renals, above the kidney. And they make hormones that help us adapt to stress. Okay. So basically they regulate our response, whether we go into survival instinct, whether we adapt to the stresses by changing our hormone profile, or whether we go into exhaustion because we can't cope anymore. So,
and is that where the cortisol is actually produced?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So the adrenals have two main parts. So they have the medulla, which produces adrenaline, and most of us will be familiar with adrenaline. It's that heart racing, jittery, nervous energy that sends us, if it's out of control, into fight or flight or even panic states. Cortisol is made in the adrenal cortex, a different part of the adrenal glands, and that's the one that is slower to rise, but it helps us adapt to long-term stresses. Yep.
Okay, perfect. Good. So that now we've got this stress that we understand where the stress comes from. What do you do in your line of work to help people get through that and become healthy again? Because obviously stress is something that can really, really tear us down.
Oh, absolutely. It's huge. And I think there was an estimate once that about 70% of doctors' visits are for conditions related to stress. So it is huge. And the adrenal fatigue issue comes from unrelenting stress that has come over a period of time. And look, it depends on individuality. Like some people will end up in adrenal fatigue very early in life if the traumas are strong enough, or they may gradually get there after a couple of decades and find that they're very fatigued. But in adrenal fatigues, I wanted to share some of the symptoms so the listeners might be able to recognise if it is something that they may suffer from. But probably the first thing is in its description, adrenal fatigue. Fatigue is the biggest issue. So people often feel like there's been a switch turned off, that it's different from being tired. I think there's tired that is from having a long day or being busy or not sleeping well. And then there's fatigue, and that really is quite debilitating. In adrenal fatigue, there's also often salt cravings. So people might not think that they're looking for salt. They just think that maybe they're addicted to potato chips or pretzels or have a real love for olives and feta cheese, when actually they're looking for the salt. So in adrenal fatigue, you can actually lose salt through the urine. So therefore, people look to replace it. Alongside that, low blood pressure is another one. So people might not recognise that. They may just think that they're dizzy when they stand up quickly. There's also allergies can be present, dark circles under the eyes. And one of the things that is really common is anxiety. So people can actually feel very anxious, but it may not be psychological. It could be physiological, in that the hormone cortisol helps to regulate mood in the brain. So if someone is adrenally fatigued,
Lisa, let me jump in real quick. So would you say that stress is it the only reason for adrenal failure or fatigue, or is there other reasons besides the stress?
Yeah, very good question. Stress is the main culprit. However, the stresses can be not the standard ones that you would think, as in, finances, job pressures, family arguments, things like that. It can be trauma. So my adrenal fatigue came on from an accident where I broke my femur, the biggest bone in the leg, at Taekwondo training. And I had an operation to put a titanium rod in my leg, and the trauma of that actually crashed my adrenals right out. So trauma big emotional stresses, so losing a loved one, going through a major divorce, things like really big emotional impacts can cause adrenal fatigue. And then we have toxins. So some heavy metal toxicity, different pathogens or infections, viruses, they can all contribute to adrenal fatigue as well. So when we say stress, it can be stresses from many different sources rather than just the day-to-day stress we think of.
Okay, so stress being the main one, and stress we know is a killer for sure. So you mentioned toxins, and I would assume that would go hand in hand with anything we put in our mouths, no matter what we eat, and then we can get toxins through what we eat, breathe, the water we drink, and all that stuff. So does nutrition play a part in helping to heal adrenal fatigue?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is probably where, what I do is in healing these conditions is really building that nutritional foundation under a person. And that's where the healing is. And as you mentioned before, the immune system is a key factor in people healing from chronic disease. And for the immune system to work properly, we need nutrition. So for me, food is the foundation of health. And from my experience, nothing works as well as food for healing the body as the foundation. So if you don't have food as a foundation, adding in herbs or supplements or body work or emotional release, it can all work, but not as well as if food is the foundation and becoming nutritionally saturated is the way I describe it. Putting in so much nutrition that the body just picks and chooses what it needs.
Okay, so what do you do when somebody comes to you that has symptoms of chronic stress, adrenal fatigue? Where do you start? It sounds like that's the first place. And what do you recommend for people doing?
Yeah, definitely. Well, one of the key things with nutrition is to be getting in whole foods from nature. So we really are cutting out the things that stress the adrenals, which is processed foods. So the bad fats, the excess sugars, caffeine is a really big one. And when someone is fatigued, they'll often rely on caffeine. So I have patients that come in and they're like, I can't get out of bed before I've had 6 cups of coffee. And it's like, yeah, I don't cut them straight because that's cruel. But what we do is build the energy underneath so that then they can wean off their crutch, really, which is what caffeine is. So it really is looking at what the person is using to get by, whether it's sugar or caffeine, or comfort foods, because they can be very anxious. So they might use wine to attempt to wind down at the end of the day. So it really is about slowly eliminating those things and then bringing in real food. So things like green smoothies and juices, bringing in fresh vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, legumes, greens, sea vegetables, fermented foods. There's a huge variety of whole foods that people can choose from. And they can also replicate, all the most beautiful flavors and textures. It's not about deprivation. That's one thing that I don't believe in deprivation at all. But it is about recreating the tastes and flavors that you really enjoy with whole foods rather than preserved, processed foods.
Okay, so you've mentioned whole foods. Now, I don't want to change the subject. I want to keep you going, but I want you to transition just a little bit because you're a raw foods coach.
Yeah.
How do raw foods, but you're talking to somebody like myself that went from a pretty poor diet over the last couple years to a very, I would consider, healthy diet, eating mostly organic, mostly greens, but I still cook my food. What is the difference between a raw food diet and a whole foods diet, as you just mentioned?
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, with raw foods, and look, I'm not 100% anything, and I think labels can be really dangerous in the food world because we already have enough stress around food without adding to having to be 100% of anything. So I like a diet that I would say is primarily of raw foods. However, I will also add in, in the middle of winter, I'll be doing some stews and some lovely cooked whole foods. So, but raw food is really important for a few reasons. One is the enzyme vitality that comes in with raw foods. When you're cooking, you are denaturing some of the enzymes. And enzymes are, part of the healing system of the body. So they break down debris, they help to cleanse, they help to digest your food better. And also the antioxidants, that's a really important part of raw food as well. And a lot of antioxidants are degraded at higher temperatures. So you won't lose minerals when you cook food because the minerals aren't degraded by heat, but you will lose some of the enzymes and vitamins and antioxidants. So for me, a balance, getting some raw food in through juices and smoothies and some salads, and then having some of your cooked portion is absolutely fine, but it's getting that balance to make sure that you've got some raw food in there for the enzymes and vitamins and antioxidants.
I take it based on what you just said that you recommend or lean. You said you're not 100% anything. Are you do you go vegan, vegetarian? Do you mix and match? Do you add a little meats and protein?
Definitely a mix. Yeah, I have spent many years as vegetarian, many years as vegan. And what I have now, I guess, is probably a little more of a flexible approach. I think there's actually a word, a flexitarian. Is that a word?
It is now.
It is now, flexitarian. Look, for me, the most important thing is whole foods and being really aware of where my food comes from. So my husband actually loves to fish in the clean waters off where we live in Australia. So I eat the fish that he catches. So that's different to farmed fish being fed,
antibiotics,
processed
hormones,
foods
and all that stuff.
All of that. So, and again, I'll eat a little bit of animal products, but not much. And I like butter, but not a lot of other dairy. So I keep it very simple, but very much in the whole foods world. So I would say 80 to 90% of vegetarian food, or you could call it vegan because I'm actually allergic to eggs, although I don't have anything against eggs if they're, nice quality, free range, not battery hen, etc., etc. And I don't have dairy, so really it is primarily vegan with a little bit of animal product every now and then bought in. Yeah.
Now, for your own experience, did you feel better with one or the other, or have you come to this point because that's what works for you? And I know that everybody's a little different. Yeah,
everyone is a little different, and I really love vegan for detoxing. I think it is such a powerful to cleanse and at the retreats we juice fast for days. So juice fasting I find is one of the best ways to get nutritional saturation from the really concentrated vegetable and a little bit of fruit juices. And vegan, I think, is amazing for detoxification. So that's part of what I do in that world of retreats and detoxification, removing heavy metals, removing toxins from the body is really powerful. However, if you're healing from a chronic illness, I think being quite strict on a healing program is really valid. Once you're in a good state of health, then I don't think the 10% matters so much, in that our bodies are incredibly adaptive, and if we've got a really good foundation of nutrition, then what we do with that, the 10 to 20% isn't as crucial. So I think for me, I have been the evangelistic vegetarian, annoying the hell out of everyone with my banging the drum. I do think there's a huge ethical and moral issues around eating meat, as well as environmental issues. But having said that, health-wise, I do believe that a primarily vegetarian whole foods diet is the most healing program. And if someone chooses to bring in some really good quality humane animal products, then keeping that to the 10% of the diet is a nice balance. Yeah.
Lisa?
Most people. Yeah.
This is Wayne. 2 questions. First, wonderful information. Great. And I'm going to just throw out a couple things. First, sure. Chris, welcome here. It's so you come to these and we love to have you here. Thanks for being on board. Mm-hmm. We do have a couple of other guests out there. At some point here, we'll open up and ask people if they'd like to come in. And then also, I want to thank Mark, who's doing a great job over on the right side in the chat for for helping and putting up really useful information. Again, if you don't know it, you can go over there, and anything you see in purple on my screen, at least, is something you can click on, and you could go see a website. A lot of people don't realize it, but one of the cool things about Blab, I did it a little bit earlier, is you can actually click on that right now. You could continue to hear Lisa talk, and you could go to her webpage, and you could go look at that retreat, find out, and you're not going to, you'll still be hearing what she's saying. So
they look pretty fun, don't they, Wayne?
And so lots of things you can do, and I appreciate you. And then please, everybody follow everybody else. That's the way that we grow this tribe. And this tribe isn't ours. It's not Mike's. It's not mine. It's not Lisa's. It's the tribe of us that are trying to improve our health, improve our planet. And right now, that's not the majority of people that are on Blab. Those people that are on Blab are mainly here because they have other interests. And so we're trying to build a community here. These kinds of talks are amazing, and we ought to have a lot more people, and we will, our replays. But I, just do those things. Now, my questions. Water. You haven't talked about water much, and you talked about a detox and a cleanse. How much water do you believe that people should be drinking? I think there's sort of a commonality in what people believe about that. But secondly, what about the quality of water? And I was just at a conference this last week called Permaculture Voices in San Diego, and one of the keynote speakers talked about how we make a big error, most people, by drinking water, even if it's groundwater that is really good quality. I have a well, for example, that's 300 feet deep. I've had the water tested. It has really excellent quality. It tastes good. Everybody that has it says, oh, I wish my water was like this. And yet I've become convinced now, based on what I was listening to last week, that I need to start to get some water from springs that I have on my property, because that water is being put into a electromagnetic situation at the surface that is really what the natural ecosystem is drinking. And we would be better off. I would be better off drinking that spring water than I would drinking this groundwater that I know is clean, but it doesn't have some of the microbial benefits and some of the other things that water coming from a spring would have. So two questions there. How much water should we be drinking, in your opinion? And second, what about the kind of water? And then lastly, how often should people cleanse in the way that you were talking about and do the detox?
Great questions. Wayne, fantastic. And look, the spring water thing is fabulous. I think that's such an interesting concept on water and about the quality of water. And this is something that my friend David Wolf really brought to our attention here in Australia, was about the quality of spring water and really about the, I guess you'd say, the intelligence it possesses, the levity, because it's actually rising through the ground to get to the surface. That is where the information of nature is stored, really, in the water at that level. So yes, I believe spring water is the highest quality of water that we can possibly drink from the source. So I know I've got friends here in Australia that they take their great big tubs and they head out to a spring and fill them up, and they get their 40 or 50 litres for the week for drinking water, and that's just what they do. They look for the springs. I'm really lucky as well that my husband and I have just purchased a property that has 5 springs on it, so we're going to be tapping those springs to take the water to the house. Nice. So I think that is the best quality for the majority of people who are maybe not able to source a spring. Then I think getting the best quality water possible is something really important as well. So one of the things when I'm living in suburbia, I have a filtration system that cleanses, puts the water back through minerals to at least try and put some more mineralization and energy back into it, and then vortexes the water so that it's got some life in it. I think that for people who are unable to get to a spring would be a really good solution to getting better quality water. So as for how much to drink, it really depends on what you eat as well. So one of the best quality waters actually is that found in fruits and vegetables. So when you think of watermelon, for example, it's 90% water. So you're actually hydrating. If you have a lot of raw foods, you're actually hydrating quite a lot. So you're having a lot of really pure water in that form, if it's organic, that is. So that's important. And on top of that, then you can drink the spring water. And hydration is quite individual depending on what you're doing. Are you exercising? Are you in a hot climate? Are you having a regular sauna? Those sort of things are important. For any water that isn't from a spring, I would always put a pinch of really good quality Celtic sea salt or Himalayan salt in the water to give it that mineralization as well. And especially in adrenal fatigue, because there is a potential of wasting sodium through the urine, that salt becomes really important to help the water get into the cells, so to get in at a cellular level. Celery juice is also a really important one to get sodium content in to really help hydration. Otherwise, you can drink a lot of water, but it just goes straight through and doesn't actually absorb at a cellular level. So with detoxing, we do a lot of juices. So we probably drink 3 to 4 litres of juice a day, which is high water content. And I also always recommend another litre on top of that when people are juicing. You can have too much liquid. So, we keep it around the 3 to 4 litres a day. And then on food days, especially if there's dehydrated food. So if you've seen dehydrated crackers and dehydrated kale chips and things like that, you do need water to rehydrate them during digestion. So that's important to have fluids during the day, not with the meal, but during the day, to help, to ensure that you're nicely hydrated if you're eating a bit of dehydrated food. When it comes to how often to cleanse, it depends again on if there's a chronic illness or not. If there's a chronic illness, then certainly cleansing more frequently or of longer duration is really important. And the body is really clever. And this is the one thing that I teach at my retreats and through my writing. And that is about learning to trust your own body and get back in touch with your own instincts and your own inner wisdom. Mm-hmm. So what I've found when I do a juice fast, that I have an open-ended time frame. So I'll juice fast without knowing how long it will go for. And my body will tell me very clearly when it's time to rebuild instead of cleanse. So the body goes through cycles of cleansing, rebuilding, cleansing, rebuilding. And those cycles are really apparent if you tune into the body. So for me, who has had adrenal fatigue, about 2 weeks of juice fasting is about my limit, and then my body's ready to rebuild again. For some, they can do a 90-day juice fast. Yeah.
Real quick, Mike, I just want to say you are the first natural care healing person that I've heard explain what you just did about water in the way that you did it in terms of drinking it for this reason. And that, it almost always becomes a pat answer. You drink half of your body weight in ounces for those of us who live in the one country in the world that has the weird system. You can do it also in terms of kilograms, so you drink it in terms of milliliters or liters. And I've talked to many people that are just hard and fast about that. And I use myself as an example. I don't think I get any benefit personally from drinking that much water because I do naturally juice. I naturally, my inclined diet, I will choose this under any circumstance, would be to drink a juice of natural juice from, you name it. Could be celery, could be kale, could be oranges, could be grapefruits. It's all over the map. And I feel, knowing my body, just like you just said, that's where I get benefit. If I just spend a day drinking water, whether it's spring water or whatever, I don't feel well. Frankly, it doesn't help me at all. And I've heard people say, you're just doing the wrong thing. And again, I think that's not knowing my body. You're trying to tell me something else is about my body that you don't know.
Exactly.
Well, Wayne,
I am not. I'm not chronically unhealthy. I'm very healthy.
Can I jump in there? Because the key to what you said is knowing your body. You know, most of us have grown up eating the, without better words, crap that is thrown at us, the processed foods and all of that. And that builds a toxic load in our body that sometimes it is necessary to drink that water to flush that out. You are a healthy, exercising, you know your body, and you eat properly. And I think that's the key that people need to understand. To try and tell somebody they can go ahead and go to McDonald's and have that burger and fries and triple size the Coke and everything else, and then come home and just drink a lot of water, they're going to be all right. Not the case.
No, that's not the case. And I think, you know, I really appreciate what Wayne's just shared, and that is about the fluids that come from really good quality whole foods in your juices and you know, fruits and vegetables is the best way to get water. But like you said, if someone has come from a really poor diet, they definitely need some. Well, they can do it many ways. Certainly, if they wanted to juice to get those fluids in, or really good quality water is going to help them flush. Most people are dehydrated, and that is as much to do with minerals as it is to do with fluids. And that's why juices, I feel, are so important in today's world, because you're getting the minerals in that help your body to absorb the water properly at a cellular level, not just going straight through the kidneys and back out again. I think we weren't born with a juicer on one hand and a blender on the other, but we've had to adapt to today's world, which is very polluted. So we've needed to upregulate what we do and to get better nutrition in a concentrated form and to really saturate with it to offset. Even if we have a really healthy lifestyle, we're still breathing the polluted air. There's no such thing as a place on the planet now that isn't polluted. So these strategies come in to offset that toxicity.
So a lot of us here in the States, Lisa, live in an urban area where we don't have access, like you and Wayne, to spring water on our little tiny track home house wherever we live. And with that, Chris, if you can see there, asked a question. If anybody, Wayne, obviously jump in if you have an opinion. Anyone have an opinion on magnetizing reverse osmosis filtered water? I personally don't know anything about that. So if you do, please feel free to answer the question for Chris.
Yeah. Well, for me, the reverse osmosis certainly cleans the toxins out, but it also cleans everything else out. So for me, it's not living water. Magnetizing it may give it some level of energy, but again, it's trying to replicate what nature already does perfectly. So for me, there's other factors that come in, as in mineralization. And also Wayne was talking about, the microbial function of water, the intelligence that comes from nature that's imprinted in the water, if you want to go to that level, that I feel is also really important. So again, it's not the worst thing you could do, but certainly I wouldn't be relying on that as a healing agent or a healing tool.
But it's for sure it's going to be better than drinking the tap water out of the system that comes through our taps.
But I'll mention another thing, just from an environmental perspective. RO is not an environmentally sound process. The reverse osmosis creates a waste that has to be eliminated. Most RO systems do what's called backflushing, and they're going to just send that waste down whatever your drain is. That waste is a toxic material, and now it's polluting pretty badly, and not in a way that can be treated in a normal way wherever that's going. Literally, it would go into your sewage system in the city, and your wastewater treatment plant in your city would not be able to treat it, much like it can't get rid of steroids and a number of the other medical sorts of things that end up there. So it's not talked about a lot, but it's not the most environmentally sound method. I do absolutely agree with everything you said, Lisa, that the key to water is really it's living situation. It's not the fact that it's magnetized, although there's some people that believe that ionization is important. I'm not saying and arguing that it's not, but and certainly, as Mike said, drinking anything that's cleaned and not dirty, like almost all tap water is. And by the way, tap water might be cleaner than what I have if I don't test it when I'm living rurally. At least in the United States, those of us that drink from wells, which is a number, last time I saw is about 40 million people in the United States that have drink well water. We have no regulatory protection. None. Because there's no testing requirements. Most people don't test. Their testing is only, does it taste good and does it look clean? Yeah. That could be the worst water you could ever possibly be drinking, because most of the things that are bad in water don't taste. You don't see them. And the really bad toxins, contaminants might be there. So that, my little message there is, if you're going to drink well water on a regular basis, test it.
Test it,
and don't just test it for bacteria or for hardness or the kind of common $20 test. Do a $100 kind of test and find out if there are organic contaminants in it.
So there may be contaminants in it, but at least with the city water, you won't have to worry about fluoride and chlorine and those type of toxins.
Right. I mean, bottom line is, I would go to bottled water then, and then go to spring water. Go to find a company that you can research, find out where they get their water, find out it's truly from there. That doesn't mean Desante, and I'm sorry, I'm going to give brand names here, or which is a Pepsi product, or what's Coke's? I'm forgetting Coke's. Somebody help me. What's Coke's bottled water?
I have no idea.
I don't know either.
Bottom line, that's RO water.
Yeah.
No, it's not Evian. Said Evian. No, it's if somebody gets it, it'll come to me here. But that is RO water. It's just the waste from their soda production. It is literally the wastewater that they treat through a reverse osmosis system. And so it's not what I would choose, but there are good spring waters out there that you can drink. I don't like the bottling process, but still.
And I think there is a website called Find a Spring, where you can actually go in there and put your area in and see if there's a spring nearby where you can actually collect fresh water. So. Yeah, there's lots of springs around. They're often hidden, even near the cities, not too far away.
Sure. Yeah. So great. We've gone a little over what I want to do. I want to open up the seat to anybody that may want to come in and ask a question. We don't have that many people in the room, so there may not be any, but I want to make that offer. And I want to take a little break right now. And as the sponsor of this blab, Alternative Health Concepts, I invite everybody that's watching this on replay to go to the website that is right under my name and check out our product that is an immune modulating product, a bioidentical product that we manufacture. It's called BioPro Plus. It's a thymic protein, and it does some wonders for people. It's just an amazing product. It helps rebuild and fortify your immune system like no other product, because your body naturally produces this protein until you're about the age 40. After that, it's on its own, and the CD4 cells that this protein synthesizes is no longer doing that. So it's just going from memory. So I know that Chris is a avid user of our product, and if he wants to jump in here and tell about it, that would be great. But more importantly, if there's any questions right now that anybody may have for Lisa, we'd love to have you go ahead and jump in. There's the open seat. Click on that, and we'll let you come in and talk. We haven't talked about it, so while we're waiting, if anybody wants to jump in, Lisa, where does exercise play in this whole thing of healing and getting through this? We've talked about the nutrition, the water, and we didn't talk yet, but I know meditation probably works in there somewhere, and maybe we can work that in.
Yeah, well, definitely exercise is so important, and I think all of us want to live to a long, healthy age with a fit, strong body, that we're not, falling over and, unable to function in the world because of weakness or brittle bones, etc. So exercise is fundamental in preserving muscle mass and strong bones right into old age. In adrenal fatigue or thyroid conditions as well, exercise can be difficult because of the level of fatigue. And exercise in those states of fatigue adds another stress to the body rather than being healing. Someone with adrenal fatigue can feel good and go and exercise, and then they'll take a week to recover from that.
So let me jump in there then. So what is the normal course I guess everybody's different, so maybe there isn't an answer to this, but how long does it normally take through the protocols that you advocate for people to get to the point where they can start exercising and get their lymphatic system moving and some of the other areas that are so important? How long does that normally take?
Yeah, well, for most people, within a couple of months, they're going to get enough results to be able to, what I call, exercise to tolerance levels, which means they can exercise to a point that makes them feel better and doesn't flatten them energetically. So working with someone for 6 to 8 weeks using food as the foundation of health, then herbal medicine as well, supplementation if needed, detoxing, and I only detox adrenal fatigue patients very gently because, again, they can't handle a lot of stress. So very gently. But within that time, they should be getting to a point where exercise becomes more natural. They actually want to move their body rather than want to lay on the lounge. So it's not laziness. I can't tell you how many people say, I'm really lazy, I don't exercise, and their cortisol levels are defunct and they're really exhausted. So people can be quite hard on themselves when they're in fatigue. But for those that aren't in fatigue, it's important to move that body. Find something you love. Ride a bike, swim in the ocean, belly dance, whatever it is, find something that you enjoy. And I think knowing your exercise type is really important. Are you someone who wants to hit the gym and train against yourself? Are you someone who needs to set a challenge like climbing a mountain? Are you someone who loves sports and being part of a team? Are you someone who wants to make a meditation out of what you do, so you like doing yoga or hiking in nature? I think knowing your exercise type is really important so that it's something that becomes just a natural part of life rather than, oh gosh, I've got to get out of bed and exercise, I hate it. We don't want that.
Sure, absolutely. So you touched on that. I appreciate that. What about the meditation part? Do you feel that I've always kind of heard that, whenever you're trying to heal chronic disease, mind, body, spirit, or soul, or whatever you want to call it, but there's those three components, and they're all very important to healing.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, you're spot on with that, Mike. Meditation is really important both in what we call the resistance phase of stress and exhaustion. In the resistance phase of stress, meditation has been shown to lower high cortisol levels. So what you're doing is basically putting your body into what we call parasympathetic nervous system dominance, which is a state called rest and digest. And in rest and digest, we also get repair, renewal, and rejuvenation. So bringing ourselves out of fight or flight or resistance and bringing ourselves down into that rest and digest phase means that that's where we heal. So that can be really important. And in exhaustion, what we often find is that because there's not enough cortisol to create the energy to function, adrenaline often rises. And so therefore the person will actually be very anxious and in fight or flight, but they don't know why, and it's because they're exhausted. So again, meditation will help to dampen that response and help them be able to manage their stresses a lot better. So meditation does increase tolerance to stress, so people cope better when they are active in meditating regularly. And
then along those lines, then, that is not to say that meditation can take the place of really restful sleep. That's another important component, right?
Totally. Yeah, okay. Totally agree. Sleep is so important, and the contradictory thing is that in issues of fatigue, insomnia is really prominent. And that's, you would think someone fatigued would want to sleep all day, and that just doesn't necessarily happen, especially in adrenal fatigue. Insomnia is a really big part of that. So finding ways to get quality sleep is one of the keys to healing. And with that, I use different herbs, different supplements, making sure they have a really good nighttime regime to allow for good habits to form around sleep. We can use melatonin if it's suitable for certain people. But yeah, absolutely, it doesn't replace sleep. Sleep is crucial in healing.
Because that's when our body is at that rest and digest at its optimal, right? I mean, that is really what that's all about. Okay, so
absolutely.
We can get there and help through the meditation. We get there. Okay, well, I think we've gone through everything that.
Can I throw one in? Can I throw one in related to sleep? A question.
Yeah.
The length of your total sleep or the length of your REM sleep. Your REM sleep.
Yeah.
That's also somewhat something that people argue about.
Yeah, it certainly is, and I don't know that I have a definitive answer to that one either. Definitely your REM sleep is important, and from my understandings, especially in insomnia and fatigue, that people just don't drop into REM very easily. And so they may be sleeping normally, but because they're not dropping deeper, they're not really getting the quality restful sleep that they need. So I think that's part of the fatigue picture as well, is that if you have the fight or flight hormones circulating, you're not able to really reach those deeper stages of sleep that we need to recover. So that's a big factor as well in healing. Yeah, you're right. But length of sleep, I think it does. It is different for individuals, but I think it's been shown that any less than 7 hours can be detrimental to health. So I assume within that people will be getting some good quality REM sleep. Yep.
I had real questions about that, and people know me, know that what I'm going to say next, but you don't. From the time I was born, my mother was just saying all along, gosh, this kid will never sleep. And so I don't have memories of those early days, but I do have memories that start in my, 8 or 9 year old range. And I just wouldn't sleep for more than 3 to 4 hours. And I didn't have trouble going to sleep. That wasn't a problem. I didn't have wake up groggy, but I just didn't sleep. And I still don't naturally. And until about a year ago, I used to almost brag about the fact that I can get more done because I only sleep 3 to 4 hours a night. And I intentionally, about a year ago, I came to believe that I possibly was not sleeping enough and that it might not be bothering me too much now, but it was going to eventually. And if I wanted to live to be an older age, I would probably start thinking about sleeping more. And I intentionally forced myself to, and it hasn't been easy, quite honestly, but I've peaked now to where I'm sleeping about 5 hours, and I've tried to sleep longer and I can't, but I bought one of these, and this one happens to be a Garmin, but it actually really well monitors sleep. And so I wear it 24 hours, and when I sleep, it shows me what is my deep sleep, the REM sleep. Here's what's interesting, and I'm an anal scientist, so I collect data and I analyze it. I naturally get between 3 hours and 47 minutes and 4 hours and 10 minutes every night if I'm of REM sleep.
Wow.
It doesn't matter whether I'm getting, and I can sleep really casually for 6 hours, 7, and I'm only getting soft sleep during those times, and it's not REM. So the key for me, is my body again, is to get that 4 hours of REM sleep. And I think I've been getting it. I actually think all that life before I was getting that 3 and a quarter to 4 hours of REM sleep.
That's really interesting. I'm going to have to get one of those because that could be really helpful for people with fatigue issues that feel like they're awake all night to actually see if they are or not.
It tells you when you get your REM sleep, when you're soft sleep, and when you're awake, and it's pretty accurate. It's pretty amazing how good it is.
Right.
Lisa,
great tool.
We're getting to the top of the hour, and but there's something that I want you to go into a little bit because I love the name. It's about a book that you've written, It's coming out, I guess, in September, you mentioned to me, but the name is just worth, we got to take a few minutes and talk about the F-word solution. So I love the F-word solution name of your book.
Thank you.
It's he's got it down there. Mark put it in the chat. It's thefwordsolution.com for those of you that are watching this and can't see the chat. Please go to it, sign up for it, and get the book when it comes out. But tell us about what the F-word solution is.
Yes, absolutely. That was my book is the F-word solution, Fed Up with Feeling Fat, Fatigued and Forgotten. Finally, the formula for a fun, fit and fantastic future.
Nice.
So it really is the F words. And also when you are in those states of fatigue, you do feel really effed. Can I say that? So it really made sense when I came up with that. Basically, the book really is addressing the issues of fatigue and the symptoms that come along with that, especially in, for example, adrenal and thyroid issues with weight gain, fatigue, feeling depressed. So the book really is covering those issues, and it's a big book, so it covers quite a lot in it. But it starts with my story of fatigue, because I went undiagnosed with adrenal fatigue for nearly 2 years before I found an integrative practitioner who diagnosed very, very low cortisol levels. And then I go into the primary areas to look into, such as adrenals, thyroid, digestive function, the liver, and then the secondary conditions, which can be things like insulin resistance, allergies and intolerances, vitamin D, inflammation and infections, so the immune system, all of those secondary conditions that can contribute to fatigue but are not necessarily the primary cause. Then I look at the emotional aspects of healing, because that's such a big part of being well, is also being emotionally healthy. I have met many people who physically may be great specimens, but they're actually obsessive and judgmental and intolerant, and for me that's not healthy. Healthy is love and joy and compassion and gratitude and all those lovely emotions that come when we are healthy, emotionally and physically. I go into detoxification and also food as medicine. So it's a really comprehensive book in that it gives a guideline for someone whose symptoms may have not been diagnosed properly with a doctor, and it gives them a starting point where they can identify what may be going wrong and then work with their natural medical practitioner or their integrated doctor and find the solutions to their health concerns. So it's been a passion project for a few years now, and it's almost there. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hopefully in the future, maybe we can work together and maybe even promote it here in the States for you a little bit. And I don't know if you've got any kind of affiliate program set up with that, but yet or not, but we'd sure like to probably be part of that.
Yeah,
and I'm sure Wayne or somebody on our team will be in touch with you.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate
that. Just sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to it, and I'm going to go sign up. So is there I don't think there's any questions. We haven't had anybody jump in yet. So I want to
acknowledge Chris. Actually, Chris commented and thanked you for the answer of the question, but also said that he said he had actually installed an RO system, didn't know about the environmental problem. And then he also said that he had talked to Mike about how he had a cold earlier and he took our BioPro. He said it was the most easily alleviated cold that he ever had. So I think he's a little shy to come online. But Aquafina, you got it, Chris. There it is. And I was right. You're right. Aquafina's Pepsi, Dasani's Coke. So I was backwards on it. So just as I was talking about him and what he had said, he figured it out for us. Thanks.
So, and Chris's, I think, Chris, your review is actually on our site about that cold. And that's the amazing thing about BioPro and what it does. So please go to our website and look at it, sign up for our newsletter, also sign up for our free book, how you can strengthen your immune system and make it strong. We have some great information on there. Also, if you get a chance, check out our new animal portion of the website. We are going to be having the equivalent of BioPro, but it's a different formula for our animal friends. We're going to be starting with horses because of my dad, equine veterinarian, and my partner. And then we're going to move into our furry friends, our cats and our dogs. And having BioEqualizer will be the name of that product, and it'll be available soon, within the next month, on the website for the horses first. So go check that out. We got a lot of great information. You can sign up for a separate newsletter on how to keep your pets healthy and get more information. We can overload you with information. That's not the intention, but we want to make sure you have everything at your fingertips so that you and your pets can be healthy and happy. With that said, I want to thank again Lisa Wheeler for being here.
Thank you.
Please go to her website, embracinghealthblog.com. That, again, for those of you that are watching the replay, won't see it in the chat. So please go to embracinghealthblog.com. Lisa comes to us from Australia, but as we all know, this world is very small, and we can gain great information over the internet through these different sites. So please go to her site and do that. With that said, Lisa, again, thank you so much for being here and giving us your time today. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's heartfelt that you were here and you took our time to be with us. With that said, you have the last. Oh, go ahead, Wayne. I was going to give her the last word.
That was awesome. And let Lisa have the last word. And I'm just going to say one thing. We're trying to now publish these blabs and their replay. And please encourage. This is an awesome blab. Lisa was unbelievable. Awesome live stream. So please encourage your friends. Go look at it. Go look at it again yourself. And we're now going to be publishing both an edited version. So we go in and edit this and make some cool stuff. But we'll also publish the raw footage, which will come out. It'll actually be available right away. And you can get it here on the Blab site, or we're going to put it on the website. And the chat will be there. So when that happens, you're going to be able to click on the link. So you can go to embracinghealth.com, click right there, and you'll go see the site. So, Lisa, thank you.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So you have the parting shot, Lisa, and let us know what you'd like us to take away from your visit with us today.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've really enjoyed the chat and, of course, talking about, my biggest loves in life, which is health and food. And for, the great questions from both of you. It's been fantastic. I guess the takeaway message is that the body has the potential to heal. So giving it the right tools and environment, it can heal from just about any chronic illness known to man. And I think that is really powerful. And it doesn't need to be that complicated. It really does come down to some simple whole foods, dealing with your emotional baggage and starting to heal those wounds that we all have. None of us get through life unscathed. So we all have those wounds. So healing those, getting good quality water and, sunshine, laughter, love, these things are all so simple but so missing in today's society. So I think, the power of the body to heal is phenomenal and we can harness that. It's at our fingertips. Yeah.
Great way to end the show, and I concur, and our company concurs with everything you just said. It is our body, and we need to understand our body, as like Wayne mentioned, he does with his, and it's all a learning process. But once we learn that process, we can heal ourselves of any chronic disease. And so, with that, I'm going to say goodbye and thank you for being here. We'll see you next week on our Blab. And I think it's going to be Tuesday. I don't know exactly the time yet, but that'll be up shortly. So thanks for being here. Thanks so much.
Okay.
Bye-bye now.
Okay.